Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the English Journey podcast, where we talk about the real emotions and experiences behind learning English. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Emily. Today, we're diving into a topic that holds so many learners back, not because they're not smart, not because they're not trying, but because they're aiming for something impossible: perfection.
Yep, perfectionism. It might sound like a good thing at first, wanting to get everything right. But when you're learning a new language, that desire to be perfect can actually slow you down, stress you out, or even make you stop learning altogether.
Totally. I mean, think about how often you've told yourself, "I can't speak until I sound like a native speaker," or "I won't write this message until it's perfect." Suddenly, you're not practicing at all, you're stuck in your head, judging every word before it even comes out.
Exactly. And perfectionism doesn't just affect your grammar, it affects your confidence, your motivation, even how much you enjoy learning. When the goal is perfection, nothing ever feels good enough.
Let's break it down a bit. Why do so many language learners become perfectionists? Well, one big reason is fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of sounding silly, fear of being judged. But mistakes are actually how we learn. They are not the enemy. They are the process.
It's like learning to ride a bike. If you expected yourself to balance perfectly the first time, you'd never get on. But we fall, we wobble, we keep going, and eventually, we ride. Language learning works the same way.
And here's the truth: native speakers make mistakes too. All the time. We forget words, we stumble, we say and like and mix things up. So why do English learners expect themselves to be mistake-free?
Because they care. And that's not a bad thing. Wanting to do well means you're motivated. But if perfection is your standard, you'll always feel like you're failing, even when you're making progress.
So what can we do instead? Let's start shifting our mindset from "I have to be perfect" to "I want to improve." From "I can't make a mistake" to "every mistake teaches me something."
And one really helpful way to practice this is to start speaking before you feel ready. Just try. Say something. It won't be perfect, but it will be real. It will be honest. And it will help you grow faster than waiting for the perfect moment that never comes.
Another tip is to track your effort, not just your results. Did you try speaking today? Great. Did you write a short journal entry even though you weren't sure about the grammar? Amazing. Progress is progress.
Also, celebrate small wins. If you understood part of a podcast, even just a few sentences, that matters. If you had a 5-minute chat in English and only froze once, that's a win.
And please, surround yourself with supportive people. Whether it's a teacher, a friend, or an online community, choose those who encourage you, not those who make you feel like you're not enough.
Another thing to remember is, perfectionism can be sneaky. It can show up in how you study too. Like rewriting the same sentence 20 times. Or watching a lesson but never trying to use the language because you don't feel ready. The best way to beat perfectionism is action. Imperfect action.
Take that messy note. Record that voice message even if your pronunciation isn't perfect. Join that conversation even if your grammar slips. Because real growth comes from doing, not from waiting until you're flawless.
And here's something else: when you let go of perfectionism, you actually make more space for fun. Think about it. When you're not constantly criticizing yourself, you can enjoy the learning process. You can play with the language. Joke. Explore. Experiment. That's where creativity lives.
Yes. And language is living. It's about communication, not perfection. It's about being understood and connecting with people, not sounding like an English textbook. Fluency is a feeling, not a flawless performance.
That's why things like speaking games, role-playing, or storytelling can be so powerful. They force you to focus on the message, not just the form. And when you're focused on meaning, your brain actually remembers the language better.
Also, it helps to set realistic goals. Instead of saying, I want to speak like a native in 3 months, try something like, I want to feel more confident introducing myself, or I want to have a 10-minute chat without switching to my first language.
And let's not forget mindset tools like self-compassion. Talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a friend. If your friend made a mistake while learning English, would you say, you're terrible at this? No, you'd say, that's okay. You're learning. Keep going.
Exactly. And even recording your progress, like voice notes, video journals, or short writing samples, can show you just how far you've come. Because when you feel stuck or not good enough, you need proof that you are improving, even if it's not perfect.
Perfectionism wants you to believe you're not doing well unless you're flawless. But in reality, every new word you try, every sentence you build, every time you keep going even when it's hard, that's success.
And honestly, the people who make the most progress in English aren't the ones with the best vocabulary or grammar, they are the ones who keep going. Who show up. Who learn, unlearn, and relearn with curiosity instead of judgment.
So if you've been waiting to be perfect before you speak up, before you write, before you call yourself an English speaker, don't wait. You are learning. You are growing. And that's more than enough.
We want to remind you that letting go of perfection doesn't mean giving up on excellence. It means choosing progress over pressure. It means showing up even when it's messy. And it means trusting that you're good enough to keep going, right now.
And here's the thing, some of the most impressive English learners I've met are not the ones who got every verb tense correct. They are the ones who weren't afraid to say, wait, let me try that again, or even, how do I say this better? That's powerful. That's what real learning looks like.
Yes. And if you're always worried about being perfect, you'll avoid speaking. You'll avoid writing. You'll even avoid trying. And that's the real danger of perfectionism, it stops you from practicing, which means it stops you from improving.
Exactly. It creates a fear loop. You don't want to sound wrong, so you don't speak. You don't speak, so you don't improve. And then you feel like you're not good enough. The only way to break that loop is to be brave enough to be imperfect.
Think about toddlers learning to speak. They make tons of mistakes, but we celebrate them. We clap and say, wow, you said your first word. And you know what? That encouragement is what helps them keep trying. We need to give ourselves the same support.
That's such a good point. Imagine if every time you made a mistake, you said, great. That means I'm learning. That one mindset shift can totally change how you experience English.
Also, try this, make mistake time part of your study routine. Give yourself permission to talk or write for 10 minutes without correcting anything. No grammar checks. No worrying. Just express. Then, afterward, you can go back and see what you want to fix.
Right, because mistakes are only helpful when we reflect on them, but reflection should come after the effort, not before. If you're correcting every word before you say it, you're blocking yourself. Let the language come out first.
Another tip is to notice your triggers. When do you feel that perfectionism creep in? Is it when you're around native speakers? When you're writing something someone else might read? If you can identify those moments, you can practice being kind to yourself in them.
And that kindness might sound like, this doesn't have to be perfect to be valuable, or, I can still contribute even if I make a mistake. That kind of self-talk can reduce anxiety and build emotional resilience.
You know what else helps? Celebrating small wins. Maybe today, you used a new word in a sentence. Or you finally understood a phrase in a movie without subtitles. Those are victories. Perfectionism overlooks them, but you don't have to.
So let's be the kind of learners who celebrate effort, not just outcomes. Who enjoy the journey, not just the destination. Because when you let go of perfection, you make space for curiosity, confidence, and joy. And that's when the real fluency begins.
And joy is something we often forget about in language learning. We think it has to be serious, structured, flawless. But think about your favorite conversations. Were they perfect? Or were they fun, natural, even a little chaotic?
Exactly. Language isn't a performance, it's a connection tool. And connections aren't perfect. They are real. They are full of pauses, mispronunciations, and moments where you both laugh because something sounded totally wrong.
That's part of the beauty of it. And when you let go of perfectionism, you give yourself permission to experience English instead of just trying to master it. You listen with more openness. You speak with more freedom. You learn with more heart.
And let's be honest, perfection doesn't even exist. Native speakers make grammar mistakes all the time. They forget words. They stumble. But that doesn't stop them from speaking. So why should it stop you?
Maybe the real question isn't, how do I speak perfectly, but how can I keep growing even when I don't? Because growth, not perfection, is what fluency is really about.
And once you start to believe that, everything changes. You stop fearing mistakes and start using them. You stop hesitating and start expressing. You stop holding your breath and start breathing into your English journey.
And breathing into your English journey means giving yourself room to be curious again. To explore words just because they sound beautiful. To try out expressions just because you like how they feel in your mouth, even if you're not 100% sure how to use them yet.
Yes. And that mindset turns language learning into something playful again. Not a checklist of grammar rules or a never-ending vocabulary list, but a personal adventure. A way to shape your voice, test your ideas, and surprise yourself with how much you already know.
And even when you hit a wall, and we all do, it helps to remember, that wall isn't a sign that you're not good enough. It's just a sign that you're moving. You're pushing forward. You're growing into a new level of expression.
That's why letting go of perfectionism doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care better. You care in a way that supports your progress, not paralyzes it. You learn to give yourself credit, not just criticism.
And that shift, seeing your efforts as enough, as valuable, as worthy, is what allows your English to evolve with less fear and more joy. Because honestly, learning a language is already brave. You're already doing something remarkable.
Exactly. Every time you open your mouth to speak English, even when you're unsure, you're choosing courage over comfort. And that's not something perfectionism will ever recognize or reward, but it's something you can start honoring in yourself.
And honoring that courage means noticing the little things. Maybe today you spoke without translating in your head. Maybe you finally used that one word you learned last week in a real sentence. Maybe you understood something on a podcast without needing subtitles. Those are wins.
And they matter. The problem is, perfectionism trains us to overlook those wins because they are not big enough. But the truth is, fluency is built on those tiny moments stacked together. One brave sentence at a time.
Yes, and perfectionism also has this way of making us focus on what we're not yet. Like, I'm not fluent, or I still make mistakes, or I don't sound like a native. But what if we shifted that question to, what have I become already through this process?
Maybe you've become someone more patient, more observant, more creative with communication. Maybe you've learned how to laugh at your mistakes instead of freeze. Maybe you've discovered how resilient you are when something doesn't come easily.
And that's the real reward of language learning that perfectionism can't see, who you become along the way. The version of you that keeps trying, even when your inner critic says you shouldn't. The version that keeps reaching, even when doubt gets loud.
So if you're listening to this and perfectionism has been holding you back, here's what we want you to remember: you don't need to be perfect to make progress. You don't need flawless grammar to express a meaningful thought. And you definitely don't need to wait until you're ready to speak, because progress happens when you start, not when you're perfect.
Language is messy, human, and ever-evolving. And so are you. So let's stop aiming for perfect and start celebrating persistence. Let's replace self-judgment with self-kindness. And let's trust that every imperfect attempt is actually a step forward.
Thanks for spending this time with us. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who might need it too. We're all learning, none of us are alone in this. Keep speaking, keep growing, and most of all, keep showing up.
You're doing better than you think. And your voice, exactly as it is right now, is worth hearing. Until next time, keep learning, and take care of yourself.